Hey y'all, so today we're going to talk about chapters 15 through 18 of The Great Hunt, which is the second book in the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. So let's go. Chapter 15 is Kinslayer, and Rand, Loyal, and Huron are still in the mirror realm. I'm not sure what else to call it, the mirror land. At the beginning of the chapter, Loyal actually sings himself a quarterstaff from one of the trees in this mirror land. And that type of magic has always been really interesting to me. And it's pretty surprising because Ogier typically don't carry weapons, they don't really believe in violence, and it just kind of tells how scared Loyal is right now. And I think that's very important to really realize, is that he knows that there's something wrong, that even though they seem to be the only ones here, they're probably not, and he's preparing for some kind of fight, and I think that's pretty telling. At this point, Rand is feeling very guilty about bringing them here. He knows that he is somehow responsible for it, and he has taken that responsibility onto himself to get them back home. And I know we had talked about in the previous chapter where Rand was supposed to be put second in command, and I said that he doesn't have any experience. What is he gonna do? And I know that that's how you get experience. Normally you move up through the ranks rather than start out as a novice and then suddenly become second in command. But I also kind of understand, what you guys were commenting, that Moraine is trying to get him this experience that he definitely needs. I think he's getting some of this experience right now because even though he's only in charge of 2 other people, you can really tell that he's bringing in this leadership role. He's taking command, he's in charge of them, he's trying to take care of them. They're both Loyal and Huron are looking to him for leadership, and Huron's still calling him Lord Rand. Rand at this point just kind of lets it go. That's not something he wants to bother with right now, and that makes sense, but it's forcing him into this leadership role to get some of this experience that he does need. And I think that it's this overall, I'm sure he's going to get out of this somehow, naturally, and I think this is going to be a good experience for him. So at one point when he's taking watch, Rand is taking watch, he starts having this, I don't know what to call it, it's sort of like from the first book where it's almost like a vision, not quite a dream. Balsamon is there, but he's also not there. Some things are real, some things aren't. And Balsamon appears, and he keeps calling him Lews Therin. And it kind of makes me wonder, why is he calling him Lews Therin out of all these iterations? Like, what was so specific about Lews Therin that Balsamon continuously calls Rand that particular name? Because he even says it, that, you've gone by, my cat's going crazy, you've gone by multiple names in the past, and so I kind of wonder why he sticks to Lews Therin. I kind of want to know why, or if that's just maybe the most recent iteration, or even if it's not, why that one. So Balsamon says something about the girl who watches over you, and my first thought was obviously Egwene. She's the one that tries to watch over him. She's the one that still loves him and, promised to him and all that. And I find it interesting that Rand's first thought is Moraine, so I'm kind of interested to see which one Balsamon is really talking about, because I thought of Egwene and he thought of Moraine, which I think makes sense. I don't know if he quite sees Egwene as someone who could take care of him, as someone who is an adult almost. I mean, to him, Moraine is definitely an adult, definitely tries to look out for him, and I don't know if he quite sees Egwene herself as someone who could. And at this point, honestly, I don't think she really could. She's young just like Rand, but my first thought was Egwene. So I'm curious to see who Balsamon was talking about. So Balsamon also mentions the last battle, which is all capitalized, so obviously that is a important piece. It sounds important. And once again, I'm kind of curious as to how far into these books the last battle is going to be. My guess would probably be the last book. I feel like I've heard people talk about that being a chapter, but I don't know if that's right or not, because I try not to listen to a lot of spoilers, so I could be wrong. But he mentions that. He mentions the wheel being broken and how this is supposed to be the last time they fight. So I want to know what precautions he's taking to make sure that this is the last fight. How is he ensuring that this wheel is going to be broken? I would just want more information on that, and I'm sure it's going to be coming. He's also trying to lure Rand. Naturally, he's always trying to lure Rand, but he's promising him freedom from the madness of touching the power and eternal life. And it almost, for like 2 sentences, seems like Rand is honestly almost thinking about it. He is so afraid of becoming mad, of losing his mind, of putting people he loves and cares about in danger, that it seems like he's almost tempted to take advantage of this and not go mad. But of course he comes back to himself and says, no, I deny you. I walk in the light. A very strong moment, because he's obviously terrified. He's in this new place, no idea where or how he got there, how he's going to get home, and he's practically alone dealing with this. And I feel like Moiraine needs to have like a one-on-one with him to say this is what Balsamon can do, but Moiraine may not even know. It kind of made me think of, like Dumbledore and Harry, where Dumbledore should have told Harry all these things so much earlier in his life and Dumbledore didn't. So I'm kind of hoping that that's not what Moiraine is doing. I hope that Moiraine isn't holding back information that Rand really does need, because Rand feels really vulnerable right now. He's in this strange place, keeps having these dreams and these confrontations with Balsamon. And I mean, now Rand's fear is basically realized. Like he knows for sure Balsamon isn't dead, even though he's been telling people that he's dead. So I think out of just hope that he was right. But, so during this vision, I guess, I don't know what to call them, but during this instance, Balsamon is forcing Rand to touch the one power, causing him to basically become tainted. Rand calls upon the void, and the fire kind of comes to life amongst the fog. His sword even brands the heron mark into his palm, which is probably going to come into play in the future, but at this point the chapter pretty much ends on this note, and Rand is obviously shaken up. Chapter 16 is In the Mirror of Darkness, and we're still with Rand, Loial, and Huron in this mirror land. This is the next day after Balsamon's appearance to Rand, and they come across what they thought was going to be Hawkwing's spire, but they knew that in their time it had been torn down 1,000 years ago, so they're thinking maybe they're back in time and they're going to get to see this spire before it was torn down. That's kind of maybe what their thought process is, that maybe they've gone back in time at some point. But Loial is, telling Rand, don't go, and Rand just takes off with Huron. And I find it really weird that Rand trusts Loial and kind of believes in him and his experience with just weird magical things that Rand has no idea about. And he listens to Loial generally until this point, then he just takes off and just decides to ignore Loial. It's just a really weird moment that kind of bothers me. Rudeness just really bothers me. Like, I don't understand how Rand could just flat out ignore someone talking to him, especially when they're in a dangerous situation. It just annoyed me, and that's more of a pet peeve than a writing critique or a character critique. That's just me. I'm like that in everyday life. So, but they get there and they realize that it's not the same spire, that obviously a raven is the main focal point instead of a hawk. So it's almost like now they're thinking that it's an alternate timeline where the Trollocs won at this big battle point, that because that spire was supposed to be, a monument to defeating the Trollocs 1,000 years in the past, even though the spire is torn down now. So now they're kind of thinking this is an alternate reality, an alternate universe, an alternate timeline where the Trollocs won. At this point, Rand hears a woman screaming and he takes off to go try to save her. Of course, Huron and Loial are saying, no, be careful, but Rand doesn't listen. And you see what we learn, her name is Selene, and Rand saves her from what is called a grom, like a frog-looking bear-sized creature. And Rand calls upon the void, but doesn't touch the power. So I feel like I learned a little bit more about the magic system. There's another step to calling this power. There's a void, or as Selene calls it, the oneness that he can call upon that's not quite touching Saidine. So Rand doesn't feel that taint on him, but he calls upon the void to shoot one of the Groms in its center eye and kills it. And Celine is, very calm. She bows before Rand, and she seems to have arrived here basically in the same way that Rand, Loyal, and Huron did, just through a different stone, and she calls it a portal stone. So there's obviously something extremely attractive about her. It seems like she has some kind of effect on all three of them, even the Ogier, even Loyal. So I'm not sure if that's an actual magic about her herself that she's putting off, but I think it's kind of cute that Rand is almost letting her think that he's a lord rather than a farm boy, but he's also trying to gather information from her too. And Huron lets slip that they are trying to go after the Horn of Valir, and Celine is automatically excited. She keeps talking to Rand about how he's going to be a legend and it's going to be great for him. He's going to become great, but he has to promise to let her touch the horn. It's kind of really weird and off-putting, and it makes me not trust her, obviously. But Rand at this point doesn't seem suspicious. I don't know if he's just not thinking about it, if her magic is making him more attracted to her and not thinking through something that he should be kind of worried about. Or maybe if he's just trying to get them out of here before he worries about whether she's trustworthy or not. But I just thought it was kind of weird that was her first thing is, oh, let me touch the horn and you're gonna be great, and talking him up even though she just met him. He did save her life. So I do know that would, I think that causes an automatic closeness, a bond, if you will, between two people. That's just realistic. It creates a bond, and I don't know if that's part of it, so we'll have to learn more about her and her character. So she gives him an ointment for his hand when she sees that he's burned to help his hand, and that seems very nice. We learn that she's from Cairhien? I'm not sure how they pronounce it, but she's from that city, and she does not like Aes Sedai. So I feel like she has some type of power. Even Rand says that he thinks that she can channel because she somehow used the portal stone. So I wonder if she's had a bad experience with the Aes Sedai or Tar Valon, and that's why she doesn't like the Aes Sedai, or something else. So we'll see. At this point, the chapter ends with 5 Groms being up ahead. They're going to try to find this other portal stone because she says that the one that she came through is up ahead, and their way is blocked by 5 Grom. So that's where the chapter ends. Chapter 17, Choices, is pretty straightforward. It's pretty, I want to say it was kind of short, pretty straightforward. He uses the oneness again, or the void, to kill the 5 Grom, all with a single shot into the center of the eye. And they realize that there are more Grom up ahead, and so they're trying to rush to the portal stone. So they get to the portal stone, and he is able to channel and bring them back. He brought all 4 of them back with their horses and to the right world, and Celine is extremely impressed. She keeps saying, you brought us all back. You brought us all back. I still don't trust her at this point. I hope I'm wrong. She seems interesting as a character. I just need more information about her, and I trust no one at this point, really. It's hard to trust anyone when you first meet them in these books, to be honest. They think that at this point, because time is a little weird, according to Loyal, between these if worlds, like he likes to call them, and I like that. So he thinks that they might actually be ahead of the Dark Friends at this point, but they're not sure. And the chapter pretty much ends there. The last chapter is chapter 18, To the White Tower. So we are with Egwene and Nynaeve at this point, and they arrive at Tar Valon in this chapter. Egwene is talking to Nynaeve about her dreams and how she's afraid of Rand being in danger and she's scared for him. She talks about seeing this man in a mask with fire for his eyes, and so we as the readers know that she is seeing Balsamon, but I don't know if she quite realizes that's who she's seeing. She may have a guess, but I don't know if she knows for sure or if that's even crossed her mind. It doesn't really seem like it at this point. She's just really worried about Rand. So the Everland Seed herself comes to see Nynaeve and Egwene. And the Everland Seed purposely goads Nynaeve into using the one power, and she even throws the Everland Seed across the room at some point, but of course the Everland Seed is much more powerful and kind of cuts Nynaeve off. And I'm really worried about Nynaeve because her temper and her, I don't know what to call it. I don't want to say pettiness. I don't feel like pettiness is the right word. But her personality is really causing her problems. I know that her anger is going to come into play a lot with how she controls her power and how she channels. And she seems to only be able to do it when she's angry. And so I'm hoping that she can learn how to control the power without having to be so angry when she gets here. The analyst does bump her up to accepted rather than just a novice like Egwene, but I still kind of worry about it. My problem with Nynaeve at this point, and I still really like her character. I don't want anyone to think that I don't like her. She does have some flaws. And this is something that my grandfather taught me when I was young, is you're supposed to know your place. And I think Nynaeve needs to learn her place. And as someone who was basically one of the top people of her little village, I think her suddenly being at the bottom of the ladder, so to speak, is very difficult for her. She's also going through all these issues with Lan, and she, her own fears of the Aes Sedai and magic users. It's all kind of it's almost like a perfect storm for Nynaeve, where she's just really personally struggling. However, I was always taught you need to learn your place, and that is important for any job. If you are at the bottom of the ladder, you need to realize that's where you are, and you don't talk out of turn. You don't, talk to people that are above you like they're trash. You don't think that you're just as good or better than them. And that's not to say if you're higher up that you treat people lower. You still are respectful, but that's the thing, is you have to realize where your stature is. You always show everyone respect, but you need to realize you can't step up out of your place. You don't step down either. But so when I say learn your place, I'm not saying that people above you should be able to treat you like trash. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's just she needs to learn to watch her mouth, because she just got here. She has no training, and she's talking to the Everland seat, who is extremely powerful. She's over all of the Aes Sedai, and you're sitting here talking to her like she's some village idiot that you have to deal with back home. I don't understand Nynaeve's thought process, and it really worries me for her. It's gonna come to bite her at some point. She's gonna get in serious trouble with it, and I hope she can just curb that attitude. So we finished the chapter meeting Sheriam, I believe. Sheriam is her name, the mistress of the novices, and so we know that Egwene is going to be a novice, but we meet her, and she seems generally nice, and I think she's kind of hinting at Nynaeve that she needs to cool it a little bit, and I'm hoping that maybe she can help Nynaeve, even though she's of the novices and Nynaeve is of the accepted at this point. I'm hoping that she can still help anyway. I think it might not be good for Nynaeve to basically skip being a novice. I don't know if, for her personality, if that's going to be good, or if that's just going to kind of feed into this self-importance that Nynaeve tends to have. But we'll see. We'll see. So that's the end of these 4 chapters. Thank you to everyone who continues to comment, and I love it. I've been very behind on my comments because I've been sick and everything like that, but I'm going to catch up. But I absolutely appreciate all of the comments, and it really helps me, so I definitely want you guys to keep it up, and thank you from the bottom of my heart. Y'all take care. Bye.